Darkcast Network. Indie pods with a dark side.
Well, hello there. I'm Regina King, the evil queen.
And I'm Lynn Roskamp, the docent of darkness, and we're the hosts of Disturbing Interests.
Do you get excited about mummies, decorate in skulls, obsess over the loss of the Library of Alexandria, even though it was lost in a different age?
Do you kill the conversation with your in-depth serial killer knowledge, facts about items made out of human skin, or have a strange longing to know the softer side of Mothman?
Have you spent an objectively disproportionate amount of time studying the life of H.H. Holmes?
Oh, I wouldn't know anybody like that. No, certainly not.
Well, I mean, we did call our podcast Disturbing Interest for a reason.
That's right, we've got them, and we are doing you the favor of keeping the questions like, at what temperature does it take to destroy a cadaver out of your browsing history?
Well, we hope.
Because with us, you might be disturbed.
But you're not alone. You can find us on any podcasting platform under Disturbing Interest, or check us out online at disturbinginterest.com.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, you.
Oh my gosh. Just having the best day.
I'm having a great day.
You ever have a really good day? From the moment you wake up, it's just everything goes your way. You know what I'm saying?
It's been a hell of a day.
Yes.
I've amassed a few haters online.
Yeah,
and I've been clapping back like a motherfucker, Dylan. And you know what? It feels good.
It feels so good.
It feels good to be a gangsta.
These people don't realize. Let's talk about this for a second because we got someone we have to mention in this point here. People don't realize who they're talking to. The clapback queen over here, because obviously here they come on someone else's content and they want to be like, you should, yeah, and then. Of course, Heather basically cuts them off at the neck. And what's really sad is when they keep coming back for more. So this is going on for a while.
Masochists.
Going on for a while. This
they
woman
love it.
Back and forth.
They want me.
And I knew it was only a matter.
They want it.
Right.
I'm here to give it to them.
I knew it was only a matter of time before one of the real ones. And I'm talking about the Mountain Murders fans, the Mountain Murder listeners, the Mountain Murders family. And this in particular listener, hey, Brandy.
Shout out to Brandy.
I see you, girl. She commented, you don't know who or what you're talking to. And like, basically, you need to get on now. You better get.
Get. Brandy was there with her broom, like shoving the raccoon off the porch.
No, she's trying to make her get back down in that scuttle hole, that old devil.
Get out of the trash.
So thank you for that, Brandy.
Yeah. Also, we should give a big shout out to Sharon. She is this week's sponsor. She joined us at Mountain Murders Patreon, Dylan.
I didn't even know, Sharon, that you are so incredibly smart and you are sponsoring us directly. And now you have access to all that incredible extra content. I will get you the Discord link for the Discord fam, Sharon. I'll do that as soon as we get off of here. And thank you so much. It's so very important to us.
Dylan, I just have to say.
Gosh, our listeners are incredible.
Life's good, bud.
Gosh.
However,
Uh-oh.
Life is good. But the cicada invasion is real.
It is.
We were walking Rufus earlier, and now I understand why those folks in Newberry, South Carolina were calling the sheriff's department about some alarm sounding or sirens blaring. Those cicadas are eerie.
It's eerie.
They're so loud.
I've actually never experienced a true horde. You know, I've drove through areas where they were.
We were in Cincinnati.
Yeah, but I mean, well, that's true.
With the cicadas a couple years ago.
But as far as being somewhere, like living there, and then if they're not there, and all of a sudden they almost slowly come towards you like a big thunderstorm. You can hear them more and more every day. And today I saw my first cicada sign. They were laying around, and they would be molting out of their little shells that scares Heather so much, the exoskeletons.
Yeah.
And our friend here was telling us, this is the big horde, the 16-year horde. So I understand why they call them hordes and why they're almost talked about in a reverence or an ominous tone, because it's eerie. And if you experience it for the first time, it's something to behold.
I'm going to go watch The Seventh Seal now.
I like Red Seal. Oh, sorry.
When I'm drunk, I do.
Yeah. When she's drunk, she gets a chow.
The redneck comes out in me.
That's when I know when this girl out here has had maybe a hint too much, because as soon as we leave, I'm always trying to run off and sneak and get me a smoke in. And Heather's like, go somewhere and get me a dip.
Or I start finding random fellas around the bar.
Get me a
asking
dip.
them. Yeah.
And we have multiple cans at home that have one dip taken out of them, because she will never do it again, or it'll be a very long time before she needs another dip. But she can dip with the best of them. I'm pretty proud of you.
Thank you.
You learned it.
I learned it. I learned it living in Appalachia.
In Appalachia?
In Appalachia.
All right. So, what else? I can't wait to get into this case. It's a very exciting story.
Exciting?
Excited.
Okay. Well, I'm glad
excited.
that you are excited, Dylan. Like I said, I'm feeling great. I hope everybody's having a fantastic weekend. Summer's almost here.
Ah, it is.
I love the warm weather.
It's coming upon us now.
Oh,
hey.
that's pretty rude.
Well, that's not rude. I wanted
Should
to
just take me out to dinner first.
I wanted to wash across me. You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, Dylan, I do know what you're saying.
And then summer always makes me, wait for it, a little bit sticky. Hey.
I knew it.
Yes.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, pal.
What?
You ready?
I've already started.
You ready for this? Like Jock Jams in 1994. You ready for this? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I am ready for this.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm about to pump up your volume.
Yeah.
That's another song.
What about pumping up my jam?
Oh, pump up the jam. Pump it up. Get this party started.
Technotronic, they had some bangers back in the day.
Dude, I love that kind of music. There was a era of that. CNC Music Factory, Technotronic, all those together.
Hadaway, what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
We are appealing to a certain demographic.
All right,
now.
let's move on.
All right.
Let's appeal to everybody.
Let's get back to it, Dylan.
I like to appeal my apple. Hey. Oh, I'm going to be performing here all day, bud.
Is the 6 o'clock show different from the 4 o'clock show?
Nope.
Should I get advance tickets? Will it be sold out?
It's already sold out. You can't get a ticket.
Second question. Will there be concessions?
Oh, there will be a liquor.
Because I would like to have a big pretzel.
We like to lead with nachos and liquor from the concession stands. We find that it's a really good mixture. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I wanted a big pretzel.
A big pretzel, fine. Pretzel and tequila.
So I could pretend I was a cow and lick the salt. It's a salt lick thing. Okay, let's get back to it. Diliano.
Yeah,
Dillhole.
I'm Delano.
All your different names. William Devin Howell was born in Hampton, Virginia on February 11th, 1970 to parents Melissa and John, who were both in their 40s. During the 1970s, it was unusual and considered a medical risk for late pregnancy, or what is now called geriatric pregnancy. Melissa had 2 sons by the time she was 20 years old, Randy and Rocky.
Huh.
Then there was a pretty big age difference, because about 15 years later, when she's 35, she gives birth to another son, Kevin. Kevin's pregnancy had been unplanned, and although her situation was relatively stable at the time, she had a home, a husband who worked, 2 adult children, Melissa was working nights at Whataburger to earn spending money. She broke her leg during the pregnancy and had to hop around on crutches during the 3rd trimester while pregnant with Kevin.
Oh my gosh, that's one of the most horrible things I've ever heard. Crutches in your 3rd trimester of pregnancy?
And she's still trying to work.
And she's running around at Whataburger with crutches?
At this burger stand. I mean, I have to give it to her. She's like a ride or die.
Oh my gosh.
loyal employee.
Yeah, and a hell of a she's really good at being pregnant apparently, because that takes a lot of grit.
When she gave birth to her fourth son, Devin, her son Rocky was fighting in Vietnam, just to give you a sense of the age difference in her children.
Wow.
It would be like if we decided to have a baby right now, Dylan.
Or I thought possibly Rocky was the baddest toddler ever and was in Vietnam, defending his country.
I mean, that would be amazing.
A 3-year-old with an M16.
Unfortunately, not accurate.
Okay.
John and Melissa had grown up in poverty. Melissa's parents died when she was very young. She and her brothers were distributed to different families on farms in North Carolina. John grew up without electricity or indoor plumbing.
Wow, I actually worked with a guy in the modern day who, up till 13 years old, his family still used an outhouse.
I have also known these kinds of folks, Dylan.
And that is called country.
Howell's parents overcame poverty to live a middle-class lifestyle. John was blue-collar, a hardworking machinist who left before dawn and returned at supper time each evening.
Wow, that's a long work day.
You are familiar with that kind of blue-collar lifestyle.
Yeah, I've many times I went into work when it was dark and left when it was dark, if that gives you any idea of the hours I've managed to put in.
Early to rise, late to get home.
That's right.
Thank God you're a country boy. John and Melissa were kind of old school. They had old school family values, Dylan. There was always food on the table and clothing on the kids' backs. They weren't rich, but they weren't poor. And sometimes John could be tight with money, but the family always had what they needed, which is better than, not having what you needed.
Well, it's always better to have what you need. I agree.
Melissa began working as a cafeteria, like a lunch lady, at Devin's school when he was in the 3rd or 4th grade, and continued the job at the burger stand. She actually worked at Whataburger for 20 years.
Wow.
I know, right?
You remember back in the day, the lunch lady was almost like, I don't know, it was almost like an enigma. I mean, you didn't disrespect the lunch lady.
I remember I had a favorite lunch lady in elementary school. Her name was Carolyn, and she was like the sweetest, and she made good food. Like, it was like what we would call country cooking.
Yeah.
Like Southern style green beans. Like, her food was really tasty, and she was so sweet, and all the kids loved her. And if you got a hug from Miss Carolyn, you were like lucky for the day.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because she was precious.
They would make real mashed taters back then.
As a young boy, Devin played in the ditch behind his parents' bungalow hunting tadpoles. He rode bicycles, went fishing, and enjoyed family game nights with his older brothers and their children, who were actually closer in age to Devin. So imagine you've got nieces and nephews that are your age.
Well, I've seen instances where, someone's an aunt or uncle and they're still just a kid, right? That's pretty cool when that happens too.
Yeah. Devin liked hanging out in the garage with his father, who was always fixing a lawnmower or working on a car. John was like a jack of all trades, and he could solve any problem. He was Mr. Fix-It.
Oftentimes people say a jack of all trades and a master of none, but there's more to that saying, which actually means that the jack of all trades is better than the master. I'll look it up later.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you hear that whole phrase.
Let me ask you, Dylan, would you rather be good or like decent and know a lot of different things, or be exceptional at like one thing?
Well, I am very good at just one or two things, but there's many times in my life I wish I knew a little bit more. But I mean, if you're going to be like, for instance, a true handyman who can come and do any project in a home or around your property, landscaping like that, I think that's a jack of all trades kind of guy, and I think it's very interesting when someone can do just a little about a lot of things, because it makes them more. It just gives them more. I don't know. It makes them I don't know what word I'm looking for.
Well-rounded?
Versatile. Okay. I was going to say versatile. So.
No, that's a good one.
Well-rounded. I like well-rounded too.
I don't know.
A well-rounded, versatile individual.
There you go.
There we go.
Devin noted that his family's leisure time revolved around completing some kind of task. His mother would crochet blankets that took several months to finish while watching television. She made ceramics and did cross-stitch as well. She also taught her young son to do the same things. The ceramics, the cross-stitch. The family had a garden. Most meals included items they'd grown like pickled beets, butter beans, squash, jams, jellies. I have to say they was eating good because that all sounds delicious.
You're making me hungry.
I know, right? I'm a little hungry myself.
Look, and they really don't want people growing and putting away for the winter. Like if everyone did this kind of living right here, there would be many big corporations in trouble.
That's why I want a garden.
That's why I want a garden too.
And a chicken.
I want a chicken.
And a goat.
I want a miniature cow.
Just because the goat is cute.
And I'm going to name the little furry, fluffy miniature cow Moo Moo.
Oh.
He's so cool. If you've never seen a miniature cow, good Lord, stop this podcast right now and look it up and then come back.
Will you buy me a cow?
All right. Now that you've come back, it's cute, right?
Melissa always had a homemade dinner on the table at 5:30 p.m. when John arrived home from work. The family usually got season tickets to Busch Gardens and were members at a private swimming pool. Fancy.
Well, yeah, that's living big right there.
Devin went to church with his aunt and uncle who'd lost their 5-year-old son. So they kind of, I guess took a special interest in him. Devin called them holy rollers. He attended, just like watching your face, He attended the boys club beginning at age 5 every Wednesday night and on Saturdays. Melissa, his mother, was active, always volunteering to help with the club or working as like the classroom mom, bringing snacks, helping out. She went to PTA meetings and organized fundraisers. I mean, by all accounts, Dylan, Devin had a stable early childhood.
Yeah, it sounds pretty great. Honestly, I would not have minded this one bit.
I know, right?
Small child.
Melissa was a disciplinarian, though, and often physically punished Devin with fly swatters or wooden paddles.
Yeah.
So she would spank him.
And that's what happened when you messed up when you were a kid.
If Devin was exceptionally bad, Melissa told John, who would in turn spank the boy with a belt. Devin would say, quote, "I never got a spanking I didn't earn. Mom's spankings did not make me a serial killer." Devin's brothers would say their parents were too easy on him. He's the baby. So he's the last born.
He needed more spankings is what they were saying.
They say he got away with a lot. And I think that happens, especially if you do have older parents and you're like the last born, you're the baby, and your parents are a bit older. They're tired. They're kind of just over it.
Well, and they also, it's happened, I had 3 children. They were separated by, just a few, 3 or 4 years, amongst the 3. When you also have that baby and you kind of basically know or think you won't have another child, even as tough as parenting is and as happy as you are to see them get older, more capable, mature, and things like that, you almost baby that last one a little bit longer because you're not ever going to have that opportunity again.
Is this why Rufus is so spoiled?
No, it's a whole nother category of babied.
The dog?
Yes.
He's our last baby.
Even people in public look at him like, my gosh, because he'll stop while we're walking.
Let's be honest. Everyone who encounters Rufus says to us, "Wow, your dog is really spoiled."
Yes, exactly.
He is.
Yes.
Again, he's the baby. He's the last baby.
He's just a baby.
He's the only baby. When Devin was 11, his mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, then suffered a series of strokes. The sense of stability and routine was lost when she got sick. In her early 50s, Devin's mother underwent a double mastectomy, followed up with chemotherapy and radiation, which left her weak and ill. She attempted to work again, but suffered another stroke. In the days that followed, she had more strokes, which left her paralyzed on the left side. For the next 3 years, Melissa would be propped up in a hospital bed in the family's living room.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine that combination of strokes, breast cancer, and chemotherapy?
This is so sad.
That is such a terrible thing to deal with. I mean, I can't imagine. And her still trying to go work and stuff. And as weak and tired and horrible she must be feeling. What a woman.
This is so sad. I mean, I know a lot of families and individuals out there struggle with this, and it's just a catastrophic medical thing that is beyond your control, and it devastates a family.
It can ruin families. It can make families financially go bankrupt, and that's why we need national health care coverage. Thanks.
Dylan for president?
Anybody that will give us national health care coverage for president.
Anyone with a pulse, 2024. Actually, I'm just hoping the meteor hits. I'm hoping this is not cicadas. It's just like a plague of locusts coming.
Yeah.
And the world's just going to open up and swallow us whole.
Yeah.
That just seems to be the best hope for the future.
That seems like that would be a positive compared to what might happen.
Okay, so when Devin was 15, his mother passed away. Devin had avoided spending the third night at the hospital with his mother while she was in a coma, and that happened to be the night that she passed away. And he probably was dealing with some guilt.
Definitely.
I mean, even though, he's a kid and he doesn't really have any control over the situation, I just believe in your heart you would automatically feel probably guilty and upset that you weren't there.
Yeah, and that happens a lot of times. You'll have people set every minute, for days on end, and then they leave for just just an hour or so, just get a little rest or so, and then someone pass away. And I know that leaves a mark on people.
But instead, he stayed at his girlfriend's house having sex and trying to forget about the reality of his mother's impending death. Devin will say later that he was actually relieved when Melissa passed. His mother was no longer suffering. He recalled on more than one occasion she had asked the boy to fetch his father's pistol, then go outside and play. He said, quote, "I couldn't stand to see her suffer, nor could I give her my father's gun. And it really fucked me up inside not being able to help her."
Wow. My gosh.
I know that's a lot to deal with at 15.
And watching her suffer like that, that's what's so brutal about cancer.
Well, and it was some years that he's watching his mother suffer, and she's asking him this question.
And she's stuck and paralyzed and can't do for herself and trapped inside of this body that doesn't work anymore, but fully aware. Gosh.
I don't know. 5 years later, John passed away, leaving 20-year-old Devin an orphan. He received an inheritance, but Devin admits that he, quote, pissed it away. In order to deal with his mother's illness and feeling depressed, Devin turned to drugs and alcohol as an early teen. He got a girlfriend, and the pair spent their time smoking pot and drinking. Devin had a paper route after school. Then he would go home to care for his mother until his father got home around 5:36. Devin would then take off, sneaking out around 9:30 or 10 every night, crawling through his girlfriend's window, and returning around 4 a.m. before his father got up for work. Sneaking out wasn't a problem because Devin had moved into the den by then, which was actually like an attached garage turned into a living space. John was exhausted, worried about his wife, and trying to hold it together. So he didn't focus a lot of attention on Devin, who was just kind of doing whatever he wanted.
Well, yeah, he's trying to keep it together. He's trying, still having to work, has his wife, very, very ill. And, and this is what happens in these situations like this. And as far as Devin wanting to, staying with his girlfriend that night that his mom passed away, how much can a young person deal with? You know what I'm saying? And to feel guilty, I understand, but at the same time, you're a living being too with all these emotions and feelings.
Well, it just sounds like
he
was seeking a distraction.
Yeah. And
like any distraction.
Yeah. And you can't beat yourself up for that because your mom, absent this health, this thing happening to her, would want you to take a moment for yourself, honestly.
Did you ever sneak out when you were a young person?
No, I didn't.
But your sister did.
My sister did.
Would she get caught or no?
Yeah, eventually you always get caught if you keep doing it, yeah.
Was it like climbing out the window?
Yeah.
How did that work?
Well,
I'm just curious. I was never a kid who would sneak out of the house. I was too afraid, and my room was on the second floor, so there was no way.
I didn't want to sneak out. I guess that might sound like lame or something.
I was always afraid. I knew that if I were to sneak out, that I would be the one that some shit would happen to me.
Right.
Like I would be kidnapped by a serial killer or I would get into some kind of trouble. And then I would be in even more trouble.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like a good idea.
Well, with my sister, it was more of not sneaking out the window and coming back. It was more of I'm going to go stay with a friend, but they're not really with a friend. Or her move for a minute was I'm going to go ride to school on a bus with me and then ditch school and then get dropped back off and then ride the bus back home.
Oh.
Yeah, and back then they didn't call you every single time a recorded message to let you know that your child's absent.
90s moves.
90s moves, but I got to say, that always leads you to some trouble when you're doing these types of things when you're a young person. And I think oftentimes you don't realize the possible repercussions or long-term repercussions from making these very, very poor decisions.
Yeah, nothing good truly happens with sneaking out, skipping school. I think you're right on that. At age 14, Devin stole his father's car one night. He went to, quote, the red light district, and he bought oral sex from a sex worker for the first time.
Oh, my God. Is that like a food truck?
What? What, the red light district?
No, yeah, the oral sex truck. You just go up, it's like a food truck. You just go up and buy some oral sex right quick, and it comes with your choice of fries or pub
when
chips.
You said food truck, I automatically thought of my favorite food truck back home.
Okay.
And those delicious little sliders with like the raspberry jalapeno jam and the goat cheese.
Yeah, shout out Wolf Street.
See, now you're just making me hungry. But clever joke, Dylan. After that, he was hooked. No pun intended. Picking up prostitutes for blowjobs became a secret addiction. Whenever Devin had extra money, he sought out sex workers to pay for oral sex. As the years passed, picking up prostitutes became an outlet for venting his emotional stress. He continued dating his girlfriend, Mandy. He dated her from the time he was like 13 up until he was 22 years old. So he continued dating her, and never did she know of his secret sex life. And he just keeps engaging in like regular sex with his girlfriend, but is also getting sex outside the relationship.
Which is inappropriate on many levels. You're exposing your partner to possible sexual diseases, and besides the fact that you're cheating on them, and you're hiding this big thing from them. I mean, it's just so wrong on many levels.
He had a voracious sexual appetite. Yet Devin rarely brought friends home and never even introduced his parents to his girlfriend, Mandy, despite the fact they were together for like 9 years.
Never?
Eventually, Mandy became pregnant with Devin's child. Too many of those late night visits.
Yeah, he's soaking in it, son.
Oh, gosh.
Damn.
Together, they would have 2 children, but in the end, she married another man and took the kids out of state. Devin was not allowed to see them. It was around the time of his mother's death that Devin had his first brush with law enforcement. He was riding bikes around the parking lot of a mall when he noticed a Sears store had not locked the gate at their garden department.
Damn, he went there to steal some pot and soil?
Devin and his friend poked around the garden area, and then they kind of honed in on a chainsaw to steal. So apparently cops come. I don't really know the outcome of this, but it's his first brush. He's a juvenile, first brush with law. Then he stole a dirt bike from a neighbor's yard. So a friend was caught riding it and divulged that he had gotten this dirt bike from Devin Howell.
Dude, that's no partner in crime. He dialed him out.
He was charged with burglary. By 19, Devin had 2 DUIs on record, drunk driving charges. He was named a habitual offender due to these charges with a suspended license for 10 years.
Damn, he caught all that at 19 years old?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, that kind of, I'm not going to say it's going to totally fuck your life up, but that kind of fucks your life up. It's going to blow up your spot. How are you supposed to get to work?
I've never seen anyone saying, I sure am glad I got that DUI and spent all that money and lost my license for years.
For 10 years.
10 years. That's a long time.
I mean, that's the entire
his 20s,
bulk of his 20s.
Yeah.
When he should be out forging ahead with a career.
And I would say the 20s are a very, very important time in your life.
Definitely.
It can really
sets the stage for the rest of your life.
Agreed.
I should have not been fucking off in my 20s.
He was walking through his 20s.
Any subsequent charges would be considered.
My 20s off so bad.
Did you use lube?
No, it was a dry hunt.
Oh gosh.
There was, oh my God, I wasted so much time. What I did is I wasted a lot of time with the wrong person. So, I just wish I'd had been with you back then.
You wasted money too.
I wasted a lot of money on things I did. Wow, thanks for reminding me how much I fucked up my 20s.
I fucked up my 20s too, bud.
Yeah, you know what? At 40 is going to be better.
I just wasn't taking shit that seriously. But then again, here I am not taking shit that seriously right now.
Yeah, but at least you recognize that. So you've grown as an individual.
Yeah, I've just learned, hey, not taking shit seriously has gotten me through.
It's true.
I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to take shit seriously.
It's called winging it.
I just want to laugh.
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to laugh. Any subsequent charges would be considered habitual offenses, and felonies could carry between 1 to 5 year sentences. However, Devin refused to give up driving. He would purchase cheap cars for a few $100, hoopties.
Yeah, that's a throwaway car.
Then steal out-of-state license plates from motels. He looked specifically for Florida tags because they were not required to have an inspection sticker. Without fail, he always got busted.
So he thought he was being slick, but it never worked.
He said, quote, "I screwed up my life at an early age. I've pondered many hours at what point it was that my life went wrong. After all that, I concluded that my life went wrong when I started drinking."
I think that's a point when a lot of people make you just make such dumb decisions on alcohol. I mean, really, and let alone if you're anything more than a social drinker, a drink here or there kind of person. But if you take a drink, and this I'm speaking from personal experience completely, you take a drink, and you're drinking faster than all your friends. You're getting up, going to the bar 2 times to their 1, things like this. You need to pay attention to those things. It really took me a long time because to realize that
you're literally pissing money away, because I've seen you go to the bar and buy drinks, mostly beer, and then you go to the bathroom every 5 seconds. So you're literally like pissing away your money.
No, and then I can't. And then I can't even sit and enjoy my friends, and they're having conversations and stuff, and everybody's having a good time, and you're not even enjoying it, man.
Get an astronaut diaper.
Oh my God, yeah, and that way I can drive across the country and get your ass.
I was gonna say, then you could just sit there and pee, and you wouldn't have to go to the bathroom a million times.
Why didn't you tell me that when I used to drink?
Oh, well, between the bathroom and the smoke breaks, you're a really fun date.
Yeah, you pointed that out more than once.
Yeah.
But I don't do that anymore.
I'm glad I had my wife with me to keep me company. Yeah. So after a stint in prison, Devin moved to Connecticut in 2001. It was quite a change of scenery from the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, which houses the nation's 4th largest military personnel. The area is known for miles of beautiful beaches and waterfront homes and a milder climate. Devin had an adverse reaction to Connecticut's harsher climate. It became routine for him to leave New England in the late fall and spend winters in North Carolina or Virginia. Devin was working as a landscaper, so it made sense to find warmer climates to keep working through the winter months. That's the thing when you own your own business and you're like a landscaper, or like you had a fence business. A lot of times when the cold weather hits, the jobs dry up.
They slow down. Now, there's been many a year I've worked all year long. And a lot of people are actually surprised. They think that you
Well, no, you worked all winter.
Right.
But you was cold as hell.
I was cold as hell, and the work certainly slows down. And a lot of people would think they're going to set up an appointment for spring or something. We're like, no, we can go out there and do it now. But no, it's miserable conditions to when you work outside. It doesn't matter. The gear helps.
I was going to say, then you digging in some frozen-ass ground.
I've had to take rock bars and bus, and this is in North Carolina. This is somewhere like Connecticut.
This wouldn't work.
I think it would be impossible, or you'd have to have machines to, thaw the ground out and things like that. But I've had 4 or 5 inches of hard frost, hard as a rock, in North Carolina. It makes it very tough.
While living in Connecticut, Devin also met a woman named Dory who became his girlfriend. But he'd had quite a few girlfriends in Connecticut before he met Dory. Those relationships just didn't quite work out, Dylan. The couple was comfortable living apart for months at a time when Devin left for warmer weather. Devin drove a 1985 Ford Econoline van, which was part of his landscaping business. And when he wasn't staying with Dory, he would just sleep in the van. Friends noted the van had a stench, but thought it was a body odor combined with grass oil gasoline, like the typical smells you might find in a landscaper's vehicle.
Damn. That don't sound like it smells good.
Well, not exactly.
Oh,
In July of 2003, Nilsa Arizmendi and her boyfriend Angel Ace Sanchez were smoking 20 to 30 pieces of crack a day and shooting up a bundle and a half of heroin, which translated to 10 to 15 bags in terms of street measurement.
Oh my gosh.
I had no idea what like a bundle of heroin was.
So they're doing two different highs. They're basically doing like a slow speedball, if you will, where you mix heroin and cocaine together, which killed many stars, many people. Belushi, Farley. I mean, gosh, it goes on and on. I think that might be responsible for most of, what is it, the 28 Club? Or
27 Club.
27 Club. All those people who died are at 27. But anywho.
Possibly. They're
getting way high and worked up on the crack, which is cocaine and a stimulant, and then they're doing the heroin to come back down, and then they're just doing this cycle. And it's I don't understand. It's a very dangerous thing to do, and I can't imagine it. It doesn't seem that fun to me.
No, it doesn't.
To be all over the place
but
like that.
Dylan, my next line is, it was a nasty cycle for the couple. The crack amped them up and the heroin brought them down. So you nailed it. The childhood sweethearts lived in motel rooms, paid for with money Nilsa earned as a sex worker. She charged $30 for a half hour. The lowest rate was around $20, and sometimes oral sex for only $10.
Jeez Louise, that's almost like having an OnlyFans nowadays.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's so cheap for people to look at your butthole. The market must have been saturated.
Well, I guess. And when you're desperate.
I'm sorry, but.
Because my next line is, the Johns seemed to sense when the vendor in question was desperate for cash and used this to negotiate cheaper rates.
God, it's so greasy, man. It's such that scenario alone, just thinking about that makes my kind of gross.
I find it heartbreaking.
Well, I'm saying you have someone who's in full-blown addiction, obviously, and they're doing this thing, which is dangerous, right? Unless you're in a legal brothel.
And let's be honest, it's gross.
It's great, and you have these gross guys.
I know a lot of couples. I know a lot of married women, and they don't want to do that thing to their husbands.
Because he's gross, he smells.
Well, he'll
clean.
brag that he gets it like on his birthday.
Yeah.
So imagine, having to do that like 10 times a day for $10.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not good.
I'm not a cutout for that.
This is not the glamorous side of sex work, and I'm not disparaging sex work, but this right here is someone being taken full advantage of every time the person turns around.
Well, it's really heartbreaking.
It is.
Nilsa worked the corners of New Britain Avenue, getting into cars with strangers. Without drugs, the sickness set in. And like, again, Dylan, it's a vicious cycle. I mean, she's like, got to keep doing this type of work to get the drugs, or else she, becomes like violently ill.
Yeah, at that point, just to feel normal, you need the drugs. You're hardly even getting high anymore. And that's the sad part of it, too.
After exiting a car, Angel, her boyfriend, said on the sidewalk, he said while they're walking back to their room. I don't know where I got sidewalk from. I think my brain's just all over the place. So they're taking a walk back to their room after she's done some business. He says, quote, "I'm done with this shit. You got to go to rehab, Nilsa. We both got to go." Nilsa was described as being reluctant. She'd been in and out of rehab for years. She had 4 children, and she did want to be clean, Dylan, and free of drugs. To do better, she wanted to be a better mom to her kids. She finally relented, vowing to Angel that she would never inject drugs again or turn another trick. They would go to rehab together, and they would start the next day.
And this is another vicious cycle that addicts get caught up in, especially using these types of drugs. Because it's such a hardcore, rough life. It's not fun at this point, and they're just looking for a way out.
Well, an Angel will say in newspaper reports and that kind of thing how he was just so tired of this lifestyle.
It's hard.
And that it was really, he loved Nilsa. They had been together for a long time, and how it was so hard to watch her do these things just to supply their addiction.
And this is I'll say, this is the single reason I think if we poured billions into treatment and making it fully available for anyone who wants it. At that moment, they come get you, they whisk you away to a state-of-the-art, very, well-funded treatment facility center. And I would even go so far as to give them some kind of a stipend when they come, or like a government housing when they come out of treatment, and help them get a job. You would save so many more souls than the way we treat the drug on wars now, the war on drugs now. I truly believe this, because this desperation, this sadness always sets in on people, and they're always looking for a way out. They are always looking. If there was a real way out that worked and gave them their dignity back easier, I think you could save so many more people.
Well, I've known a few people who have gone through rehab programs, and those who can't afford it, they'll go do like the Suboxone, or like a methadone clinic, like the outpatient kind of thing. And they talk about how it's grimy, it's underfunded, it's dirty. Like, they don't even want to have to go there to get the medication because they're like, this place is so disgusting.
And then people,
so when you were talking about it just being like clean and funded, I mean, it just sounds like you're going to a place that's so gross and dirty, and it's
like the streets.
So what's motivating you to want to go there and get clean?
Yeah, or you can go to this bright place full of sunshine and hope, and you can get your life back. Which one you think works better?
Yet by the time they reached the parking lot of the Stop and Shop in Wethersfield, Nilsa spotted a familiar van belonging to a guy named Devin. The couple had met Devin previously at an Exxon gas station where he was pumping gas into his van. It was raining, and they offered him $5 to give them a ride to their hotel in Wethersfield. He agreed, saying he needed to run to Lowe's to price out some supplies he had for an upcoming job, and that it was on the same route.
Oh, okay,
so
he's
that's
like,
kind of how they bumped into this guy earlier.
He's like, no problem. I'll give you a ride. I'm heading that way anyway, basically.
At the time, the couple was staying at the Alamar Motel. Devin introduced himself, saying he owned a lawn care business. Once they, arrived back at the motel, they invited Devin inside to their room for hanging out. While they offered to share their crack with him, he declined, saying he only smoked weed and drank beer. He told them sometimes he lived in his van, usually parking it at that Stop and Shop store. In the following months, contact with Devin Howell proved beneficial for the couple. Sometimes he gave them rides. He helped them procure drugs. Like, he would even drive them 20 miles away to find and score drugs.
So to them, this guy's being super cool, because that really helps them out. It makes it easier for them to run their task of the day, if you will. And they're probably really digging this guy being their friend, if you will.
Devin was satisfied with the few bucks the couple would throw at him for gas, $5, $10 here or there. As Devin sat in the parked van, Nilsa went over to say hi. Angel watched his girlfriend climb into the 1985 Ford Econoline van with plywood covering 2 broken windows. He watched her speak a few words, and then Devin Howell slowly drove away.
Oh my gosh. So Angel doesn't really know what's going on at this point, yeah? Well, I mean, he might have a sneaking suspicion.
I'm sure, but it's just, it's so sad to see. They're having a conversation about, we're going to go get clean. And she says, I'm never doing this again. I'm never injecting. I'm never smoking.
Right.
And then sees this guy that she knows is likely to take her to score, maybe offer her some money, and she gets in the van and drives away with him. So the addiction is strong.
Oh, it is. It consumes you.
Really has a hold on her.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It would be the last time Angel would see his girlfriend, Nilsa. The van had a sign saying quality lawn service care with Devin, and the phone number was listed on the side of the van. When Nilsa entered Devin's van, she asked if he would drive her to Hartford, where she could buy some drugs. He told her no. She offered to give him oral sex for $30, which he negotiated down to $20. However, she refused to finish the job. And that's when Devin grew angry and tried to sexually assault Nilsa. He said, quote, "Do what I say or I'm going to hit you with this wrench."
Oh my God. So here she thinks this is a guy she's had a back and forth with. They're having a relationship. They know him, if you will. And just in an instant, he's turning on her and becoming violent.
When she kept on fighting and screaming, he raised the wrench, hitting her on the side of the head just above the ear. It didn't knock her out, but Nilsa stopped fighting and quietened down. Devin then tied her up to the bench in the back of the van. He drove around to the back of the Stop and Shop, where he raped Nilsa for the first time. Afterward, he refastened the ropes and zip ties, securing her to the bench in the van. Devin then drove to an area which was kind of in the rear of some empty businesses along Farmington Avenue, which allowed him to assault Nilsa several more times in a private setting.
Jesus.
When morning arrived, Devin was tired, so he laid down next to the woman taking a cat nap. He would describe it as being kind of in and out of sleep, but aware enough that if she tried to escape, he could wake up.
Right.
When he finally did wake up, Devin drove to the parking lot of a Motel 6, forcing Nilsa to perform oral sex again. He raped her a few more times. Finally, after he was satisfied, Devin strangled the woman in the back lot of the Motel 6. He mowed a few lawns that afternoon. Then he duct taped Nilsa's naked body into a fetal position, wrapped it in 3 plastic bags, and covered the body with a tarp in the back of the van.
Wait a second. He went on to mow some people's yard with this poor woman's dead body in his van?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
In the early evening hours, Devin drove to a parking lot at a strip mall and kind of goes around back behind the buildings where there is a wooded area. He takes this bag, this wrapped up bundled trash bag, and he throws it over a sloping embankment. It tumbled down into a ravine filled with debris, hedge trimmings, and barrels. Safely concealed, Devin continued on about his evening. He will later admit that night he didn't sleep well, as Nilsa was the first victim whom he had known. He planned to rape and strangle her like the others. Or he hadn't planned to do that, but...
It just happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
Because he's a piece of shit.
Devin thought about the usual precautions he had taken, like changing out the van's license plate. He failed to do so. Normally, if he was going to do this kind of thing, he would find another license plate.
He would be ready. If someone did see him write down his number, it's not going to be his license. Gosh, to put in this pre-planning, pre-game scenario in place is it's almost like a peek inside of the mind of someone like this, and it's very scary.
What's really, I'm going to say pretty stupid on Devin's part, is I'm like, bro, you can change that license plate out, but your van sticks out like an eyesore.
Well, it literally has your name.
It's a rusted, beat-up piece of shit with plywood on the windows.
So it looks like
looks like hell.
It looks like a creeper van.
Totally.
And it's kind of a van that is very, like you said, distinct, and you're gonna remember it, and you're gonna be able to pick it out again very easily if you're asked to.
With his name on the side and his phone number.
God, what a dumbass.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad I had that different license plate.
Boy, I really fooled them. Let me teach you how to cover your tracks.
What I do is when I go out there doing this stuff, I just put one of them little hula dancers on the dash, and people look at that instead of my piece of crap van.
I'm not sure. I would want Devin to weed whack my yard.
No.
He don't sound the brightest.
I don't even think he did a good job cutting grass. I'm going to say it.
Also, Nilsa's boyfriend, Angel, might be able to identify him and the van, so this worries him.
You think?
The next day, Devin returned to the ravine. He dragged the body about 100 yards into the woods, taking great care in concealing his actions. He placed Nilsa's body next to the others.
So this is his own personal dumping ground.
Devin thought about how she had fought him much harder than the other victims. It wasn't like her life was worth much, he would later say. He concluded she was just another cracked out prostitute on drugs and no one would miss her. She mentioned once that she had 4 children, but Devin thought, what kind of monster leaves her babies for the needle? So this is how he is justifying his actions.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. That's how he thinks.
He then took a spade, digging down about 18 inches into the swampy dirt. I mean, it was kind of quickly turning into mud. It's wet. When he had dug a grave big enough to fit the body, he unwrapped the plastic bags and the duct tape. He covered the grave with a loose layer of soil, leaves, and sticks. He then rushed out of the woods, careful to avoid being spotted by the morning commuters who were now out and about. In the hours that followed, life for Devin returned to normal. He picked up fast food, taking it to his girlfriend Dory's house, and they watched an episode of Forensic Files. This worried him, hearing about DNA evidence and how investigators are now able to solve more cold cases using forensic technology.
But I got to say, early on in as true crime really kind of got more and more popular, as I remember. It's always been popular. We've talked about it before, but in my generation, it kind of came back to the forefront, as with some really good books. And you start getting like America's Most Wanted, some of these really notable shows that really pushed it to the forefront. Forensic Files back in the day, they did a new season or two, but back in the day, I thought it was one of the most interesting shows because they would walk you almost step by step through the forensic evidence that was used in that particular case. And you can learn so much from these old episodes about the various techniques of how they, and what I thought was interesting, a lot of times it would be the first time this technique was ever used in court, or the first time this very oddball scientific technique was used to figure out information. And I always found it very fascinating.
I had actually just looked it up because I'm like, oh man, you know what? True crime show I grew up watching.
What was it?
It was like my favorite because you're right. There weren't a ton.
No.
There was like Forensic Files.
Dateline's been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was American Justice.
Yeah.
Do you remember that show?
I do.
Man, I would watch the hell out of some American Justice.
Gosh, I would have been enthralled watching these types of shows back then. I was so happy when they were on.
So after they watched Forensic Files, Dory wanted to have sex with Devin. The couple had an active sex life where nothing was off the table. Dory was unaware that her boyfriend was also picking up several prostitutes a week.
And killing people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On July 31st of 2003, Brenda Torres reported to the Wethersfield police that her sister Nilsa, who lived in a motel, was missing. She had not seen or heard from her sister in 7 days. Brenda explained that her sister was a heroin user and a sex worker who stayed at the motel with her boyfriend, Angel Sanchez. Angel and Nilsa had been on and off for more than 20 years, and though they never married, he had treated her family as if they were his in-laws, and they viewed him pretty much the same way.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. You have people that are together for a while. It's almost like you might as well be married, is the way I say it. You're just missing the paper from the state. If you live married, I think that means something. Some people act like just because you didn't go through that ceremony or check in at the courthouse, that somehow you're less than a married couple. But I've known couples like this that never did get married, together 20, 30 years, and they were in a loving relationship, a loving, supportive relationship, and they cared deeply about each other.
I agree, babe.
I've known people like that, and I think that they had a lot of times they had stronger relationships than the married couples.
Well, I know a lot of unwed people in long-term commitments that seem a lot happier and get along better than some married couples.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I will say they are opening, you do gain a lot of protections as far as many things in finances, as far as the law is concerned, and and medical in the hospitals. If something was to happen, God forbid, that is one great reason to get married.
Jeez, do you hear Rufus snoring?
No,
it's so loud. He's like a little freight train back there.
Him's tuckered out.
Him a little 9-pound train.
He had a big day.
I'm just saying, if you guys hear snoring, I promise I'm not sitting over here like taking a nap. It's the dog.
Well, they know because you're the one doing all the work.
Well, he tried placing a call after Nilsa was gone for a few days, but the dispatcher didn't even put him through to an officer when Angel tried to report his girlfriend missing.
So here's a guy who saw his girlfriend get into a vehicle with someone and drive away, and knowing for a fact that she left with this person he hardly knows, let's be honest, and they won't even take the report, basically.
Sanchez was immediately considered a suspect in her disappearance because of his previous criminal record, which included being a drug dealer.
Wait, hold on a second. Being a drug dealer is not making women disappear. Those are two different things.
Dylan,
that doesn't work for me.
Some investigators,
right?
Not all of them,
but many.
But we've discussed some of these investigators that seem to have a hard time getting from point A to point B.
So if you say
they go off to point T or
right,
V
right,
or W, X, or Y, or Z
or
instead of just going to point B. I don't understand it.
Point D for dumb. So if you've these are two.
I'm not a professional investigator, law enforcement investigator. I don't know.
Our listeners know the top two for this. History of drug use, boom. Anything you say or do from ever is dumb and we don't believe you, or history of ever having worked in sex work. Those two things automatically make you a piece of shit who doesn't matter, and they're not going to waste their time. And it's very disgusting when they act like that.
On August 8th of 2003, 14 days after Nilsa had gone missing, Angel was arrested for possession of narcotics. He had been in and out of prison since the mid-1980s. In 1997, Angel served a lengthy sentence for possession of narcotics and conspiracy to distribute heroin. Nilsa was his co-defendant in that case. They were caught with like 470 bags of heroin.
Damn.
Once he's in jail, he tries telling police and law enforcement and anyone who'll listen, really, about his missing girlfriend. But guess what?
They don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it. The prison chaplain finally gave him the address for the Connecticut State Police Department. He wrote a letter like that day.
Because here he is caught up in his own mess, right? Been put in jail. Big deal. And all he can do is worry about his girlfriend. Because he knows what he saw and he knows it's true and he's worried about her.
Angel would tell police that he and Nilsa allowed Devin to stay overnight in their motel room and that the three of them had smoked crack together. He told law enforcement the last time Nilsa was seen was at 2:30 a.m. on July 25th, 2003, getting into Devin's van.
See, this is some of the best information I've ever heard as far as from a witness or the person reporting it in a missing persons case. Because a lot of times people's details are vague. This dude has exact times, places, descriptions.
You're going to be very upset when you realize how badly the ball is dropped and how long it's going to take to get justice.
I can already sense it coming.
Nilsa's family, they were a close-knit unit, Dylan. Her mother, Valeria, arrived in New York from Puerto Rico when she was 18. Nilsa was born in Patchogue, Long Island. Nilsa's stepfather, Ricardo, would raise Nilsa and her two sisters as his own children. He worked as a landscaper, providing for the family while Valeria cared for the children. The family eventually settled in a housing project in Hartford, Connecticut. Nilsa was described as a sweet child with a compassionate spirit who did well in school. At 14, she left due to pregnancy. Shortly after birthing her first child, Nilsa had two more kids, 18 months apart.
Wow.
So little stair steps. Don't they call those like Irish twins? Sounds like she had Irish triplets.
I call it a lot of work.
Nilsa embraced being a young mother despite the difficulties and celebrated every holiday with the children. Her family talked about how she loved holidays and like went the extra mile to be extra for her kids.
Yeah.
Like she decorated for Christmas, bought the kids these huge Easter baskets. I mean, was just like going all out.
And when you see people, I did my part, but not to this point, not to this extent, rather. It's fun to watch someone like this around the holidays because they're just like a big kid. They're enjoying it, and they make it so awesome for their kids and any kids around them. This enthusiasm for the holidays, especially like for Easter and Christmas and Halloween, they go all out, and they're just having a blast the whole time. And I love to see people like that.
I know. Sadly, we're not those people.
Well, I'm not those people, but I can appreciate their inner joy during these times.
Absolutely.
And I like to participate, but I don't have all the stuff.
At the age of 18, Nilsa started using heroin. Years later, when she learned she was pregnant with her fourth child, she stopped using heroin and got into a methadone treatment program.
She needs to stop using penis. Damn.
When she was 5 months pregnant, Nilsa reconnected with her childhood sweetheart, Angel Sanchez. Angel encouraged her to stay clean throughout the pregnancy, but after the child was born, the two relapsed and returned to injecting heroin. Nilsa's information was entered into the National Crime Information Computer Database, NCI. Nilsa's family then began distributing flyers, missing persons posters, all around New Britain Avenue, which kind of headed into the direction of Wethersfield. This is an area where she was kind of known. A lot of people knew her there. And I guess you could say maybe it's a little bit of the red light district in this area. Sadly, the photo used on the poster was nearly 7 years old. It was when Nilsa had gotten out of prison. She was clean at that time, looked healthy, and had gained weight. When she went missing, Nilsa showed little resemblance to that photograph because she went from being like 140 pounds down to about 90 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
So she was almost unrecognizable.
So, yeah, someone that size already is not all that big. And for her to lose 50 pounds, I bet she did not look very good at all. Very healthy.
Despite Nilsa's drug addiction, she also managed to keep in touch with her family. Valeria raised the 4 children, Nilsa's 4 children, and Nilsa often checked in with them. Sometimes Nilsa would take her youngest son to the park. Valeria knew if her daughter was in jail, she would have called by now. It was unlike her to go more than a few weeks without checking in. Wethersfield is considered the oldest town in Connecticut. It was actually founded in 1634.
Wow, did not know that.
The community contains an area they had nicknamed at one point Gasoline Alley in the 1950s. It was a 12-mile strip where tourists and travelers stopped for fuel stations, a burger, an ice cream cone, cheap motels. In 1961, business turned away once I-91 was built. Fewer people traveled the Berlin Turnpike, closing down many of the small, like mom-and-pop businesses that lined this 12-mile strip. Almost overnight, the area became a suburban version of Boston's Combat Zone.
Really?
Which we spoke about on a previous, it was like the Robin Bennett case.
Yeah, it's just like a rough part of town. I mean, if you're looking for a fight, you can go down. They always have the best names. Gasoline Alley, the Combat Zone.
It's funny, back home we had a strip where all the fast food restaurants were, kind of like a little main strip, and people called it Grease Alley.
Grease Alley.
Because it was,
I like that.
You know, you could go get a KFC bucket.
Yeah.
Yep.
Greasy.
Ugh.
That's a rough word, isn't it?
There were X-rated movie theaters, strip clubs, massage parlors, and adult shops popping up everywhere along this 12-mile stretch.
You know, when people say massage parlor, people automatically think happy ending, that kind of, yuck joke. I've always wondered about a person who truly is in search for therapeutic massage services, but they keep ending up in one of these seedy places that do the whole, the happy ending thing. So I wonder if there's like a good mix where you can get quality therapeutic massages and happy endings.
Oh, Dylan, I'm pretty sure if you're a massage enthusiast, you know the difference.
No, but I'm saying I wonder if there's a place where you can get both. Because I think that would be the culmination of, two pretty good worlds.
I'll tell you where you can get both.
Where?
At home with your wife.
Hey, that's a valid point.
Cheap motels offering hourly rates were pretty common along this stretch. The Alamar Motel, where Nilsa spent the last 6 months of her life, was one such establishment. It was not the worst motel on the strip, but it didn't guarantee physical safety or rooms free of bed bugs.
Oh my God, bed bugs scare me.
Can I just say, one of my worst fears is ending up in a place where there are bed bugs.
Bed bugs are scary, bud.
I worked with a couple, a husband and wife, years ago, and they had gone on a trip someplace and had stayed in like quite a decent establishment.
Right.
Like a Hilton or something. And they quickly realized they had bed bugs. And they asked for another room. Again.
Yeah.
Bed bugs.
Oh, so the whole place is infested.
Yeah.
I would pack my car and leave.
That's kind of what they ended up doing.
But didn't you end up taking bed bugs with you?
Yes. She was saying that that everything in her suitcase, like the wife was like, I basically just threw everything out.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, look, we're just getting rid of the suitcase.
Just walk away.
Like, I don't even want anything that's in there because I'm not bringing that home.
No.
I don't know how I'm going to contain this. So just fuck it. Like, we're throwing this shit in the trash.
As far as pest infestations go, that's a very hard one to get rid of. Because they're so tiny and they multiply so quickly. I mean, I've seen people have to have their whole houses tinted for that with the heavy-duty chemicals. And they put the big rubber tent around your whole house. Yeah, and then they fume it for like days on end.
Where do they even come from?
I don't know.
I don't want them ever.
I don't know. And why they all up in my bed?
Well, they're not in your bed.
I'm just saying, I would be asking them, like, what are you even doing here, bud?
What do you say? In your abstract bed?
Yeah.
You better not be in my abstract bed.
No.
A detective named DeRone was assigned to Nilsa's case. He visited the Alomar in August of 2003. By that time, the manager had thrown out all of the couple's belongings and cleaned the room. So DeRone at that point decided not to search the room. I mean, he figured at that point there's probably not much left as far as like evidence goes.
Right.
From the beginning, the investigation into Nilsa's disappearance was flawed. The poster sent to the area police departments listed her weight incorrectly, as I mentioned. They also failed to provide the correct date she went missing, and they did not include her street alias. Most clients, Johns, and other, people along the avenue knew her as Maria.
Maria. So that was her performing name.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was her professional name.
That was, okay, her professional name.
DeRone, despite errors, spent a lot of energy working the case. He took a lot of time, early morning hours, combing the side streets and neighborhoods in and around Washington Street, Broad Street, and New Britain Avenue. It was the time of day when blue-collar workers solicited sex workers, or the sex workers would be returning to their lodgings after like a night of tricks.
After a long shift.
So, Dylan, I did not know this, that blue collar workers in the wee morning hours went to get some sex before work. Is this like getting a cup of coffee at the gas station?
What are you asking me for?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, you've been in a blue collar job for many, many a year.
Well,
You're knowledgeable about so many topics. I just assumed you might know.
Well, look, this is one. I've never done anything like this, if that's what you're hinting at, because I don't think so. I love my wife. Now, if you were down on a corner, I would go pay you money, much like when I get my paycheck and just hand it over. I would just give you all my money, and I would ask you to bake me fresh cookies and give me sex work. And I think you would do a really good job because you have. No, I mean, I've never really lived anywhere where there's much of an active red light district, if you will. You know what I'm saying? You got them old few well-known people around town who may be up for, engaging in some type of activity like this, and I think that's how it operates. You know, an old gal, you might swing by her apartment and get you a little something before you go in. But I would wonder, I always had to go in so early. Like, I'm not getting up extra early to go get sex work because I just want to get a monster. And
well, that's what I'm saying. When I've had to get up early for a job, I barely wanted to get up to, like, put on makeup and get dressed.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to...
You're not getting up 40 minutes early so you can get you some...
I'm not trying to Fred Durst it. I'm not trying to get the nookie. You know what I'm saying?
So you can pick you up, get you a male prostitute dude on the way to work to sex work you up right quick.
Yeah, what's sad is I've never really seen a whole lot of dudes like gigolos on the corner.
No, well, it's what I've always said.
Where can I find one?
We discussed high-end gigolos the other day. I was asking you if that really existed, and you said you thought so in some circles.
I've seen, like,
right,
some Vice documentaries or something.
Vice again. But as far as the street corner performer, a male prostitute, you're going to get more male clients than you do female. Okay, you're going to have to be okay with performing for men, if you will, because let's just be honest, women don't typically rove the back streets and dark alleys looking for someone to hook up with. Well, because they don't have to. Well,
let's be honest, Dylan, we're the exception, because if I had not been combing the back alleys, we would have never met.
I was down there in my little pink thong on and my halter top, and you took me out of there.
I said, boy, you thick with the Reese's.
It was another episode of Pretty Dylan, and she saved me.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
I did.
I was just a tall, long-legged redhead.
I would climb up your fire escape with some roses.
Baby, and I make an emergency exit. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
Well, interestingly enough, Dylan, the red light district was surrounded by Trinity College, which is considered kind of an upscale area where wealthy students from, well-to-do, connected Connecticut families learned in luxury.
Yeah, and they probably frequented the red light district often. There's probably a reason it's near there.
She was entered into the FBI's missing persons database, and DeRone contacted jail facilities to see if maybe she was incarcerated somewhere.
Oh, so they're trying to find her now. They're actually working on it.
Well, this detective is putting a lot of energy into this case.
Right. And that's what's great. And as much hell as we give investigators, many other times we talked about how incredible that cold case investigator or that one who's about to retire and they just can't let this case go. They want to, make sure the family gets answers or the victims get justice. And my hat's off to them because I'm in awe of their work and their talents and when they're operating at that level.
DeRone also focused on Angel Sanchez. Years of experience had taught the detective to always look at the husband or the boyfriend before wasting time on other leads.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You got to take a hard look at everyone, the spouses around them and the people close to them because statistically speaking, the likelihood is that someone they know or someone they live with is who's responsible for them disappearing. And we all know that's true. But sometimes they get hung up on that and they go in the wrong direction. When they develop a theory and they just know it's the truth, I think this is a mistake often made. They will cherry pick information that only supports their theory, and they will disregard information that doesn't support it or leads in another direction.
Well, like the fact that Angel Sanchez is literally handing them this platter of information.
Like, oh, you mean the guy who is her boyfriend and is a very articulate, smart eyewitness who had every minor detail down pat and was trying to report his girl missing like as soon as it happened? That Angel? Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy. Oh, but wait. He was a drug dealer.
He used to be a drug dealer.
We're not going to listen to that guy. What would he know about it?
Devin Howell continued parking at the Stop and Shop store. Like a lot of serial killers, he had a sense of overconfidence setting in and began taking shortcuts when committing crimes. Usually when killers take more chances over time, it leads to identification by law enforcement. About a month after he had murdered Nilsa, a female police officer drove up to the back of his parked van at that store. She shone a flashlight into the windows of the vehicle. The officer jotted down the license plate number. Afterward, Devin anxiously drove away from the Stop and Shop parking lot.
Oh, so he was in the van.
He was hiding in the van.
Oh, man. Yeah, and his van sticks out like a sore thumb.
Because, again, it's a shitbox.
It's like if a creeper van was real.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, when you see boarded up windows, rusted out, just weird looking. Most people get those types of things repaired, let alone someone who's working out of the vehicle.
Beat all to hell.
Yeah.
It smells.
It smells like, I don't know, even want to know what it smells like. Not good.
A landscaper's armpit.
It's mixed with other stuff.
By November, Angel Sanchez had yet to be ruled out as a suspect. Back in September, Devin Howell had been entered as a possible suspect, as it was noted that Nilsa was last seen in a 1985 blue Ford Econoline van. However, the van was registered to Dorothy Holcomb, Devin's girlfriend Dory. Using the Department of Social Services, the detective was able to identify Dory through welfare benefits, get an address. So DeRone goes to her house, but no one answers the doors. It's dark. It's really quiet, like there's no one home. So DeRone is there with like another officer. Yet DeRone saw a figure of a male with longish hair standing over a sink in the kitchen. Like he can see this guy standing there.
So he knows someone's
even
in
though
there.
the lights are out.
Okay.
When the cops go to the rear door to knock, Dory answers. She was very unfriendly, asking, "What do you want?"
Get out of here.
When asked if she owned a blue van, Dory was defensive. It's best to cop an attitude and be defensive when a detective knocks at your door, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the number one way to make them not suspicious about you.
The detective explained it was connected to thefts of lawn equipment in the area, which was not true. but he thought it might segue into more conversation with Dory, like
Smart.
discussion about this blue van.
Yeah.
She told him that the van belonged to her, but she didn't drive it very much. When asked who else drove the van, she further stonewalled the officer. Dory denied Devin was inside her house, that he lived there, and claimed she didn't know anything about stolen lawn equipment. Dory became belligerent. She stormed into the house, calling the New Britain Police Department, acting as if the officers had shown up at her home like the Gestapo. Like she's claiming, she's comparing them like they stormed in my house like a bunch of Nazis.
Right.
Even though they just knocked on the door and asked her a couple questions.
Yeah, it's a lot. She's overreacting, right?
Which is totally normal.
Which is another
right?
prime example of how you make them not be suspicious of you.
That's definitely how I get the heat off my back. Is I'm an asshole to the cops.
Yeah, that's how every traffic stop I get into, I start open up with being an asshole, and it works out perfectly for me every time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Finally, Daron left, but he now had knowledge of the van's location and owner. Despite the information gathered, Daron still focused on Angel Sanchez, even asking him to take a polygraph, which he allegedly failed. However, Sanchez doubled down on the story that Nilsson went off with Devin in the blue van. After a second polygraph in December, which was inconclusive, Daron began to focus more attention on pursuing William Devin Howell. After contacting Dory Holcomb, Daron did like an NCIC computer search of Devin Howell and found the New Britain Police Department had an outstanding warrant for a charge of assault in the 3rd degree.
Ah, nice.
For Devin.
Now he has a reason to pick him up and hold him.
According to the records, the victim was none other than Dory. It seemed the couple had quarreled recently, and he ripped the phone from the wall, preventing Dory from calling the police. And when I say he, I mean Devin ripped the phone from the wall.
Yeah, we know if somebody did that recently.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. You know.
You know.
It's the you know guy. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. He likes to pull the phone out of ladies' hands when they trying to report him being a dumbass.
Oh, yeah. So when I had to check because I like to check the fuzz busted, I like to see who's been arrested.
Yup.
This clown we know.
Frequent flyer.
Yeah.
You know.
He had that charge. We're like, wow.
What a doober.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
Stupid.
And strangulation. So way to go, you piece of shit.
Shit, you know.
Won't you come
That's like the only words I've ever heard of this guy's mouth.
Won't you come strangle a man? Won't you come strangle me, buddy? Yeah, I want you to try that.
Sounds kind of kinky.
Yeah, you think it's kinky? I'll fuck him up.
Are you into that?
I'm going to beat him for every woman he's ever been mean to.
She had tried running upstairs, but Devin physically restrained her by punching her in the head and stomach. He also punched her in the back of the head and the left eye.
God, my God. So, no, Heather, it would have been kinky if I said, come strangle me, daddy. That would have been kinky.
Based on the previous mugshots of Devin, they recognized him as the guy who had been standing in Dory's kitchen. She probably knew her boyfriend had a lengthy criminal history and was wanted for a probation violation. So they figured that's why she was trying to cover his tracks.
She's running interference for him.
A break finally came in the case when Daron checked the van's registration in the NCIC database. It was on November 28th of 2003 that a North Carolina sheriff pulled over the blue van driving in Dare County for a motor vehicle violation. The detective learned the van was in North Carolina and that Devin had been stopped and arrested. At the time, Devin had given false information to law enforcement. This guy actually gave the cops his nephew's name.
Oh, yeah, that was smart.
With a fake birth date. He posted bond, but was scheduled to appear in court on January 20th of 2004. Fortunately for investigators, Devin appeared in court on the day of his arraignment. Daron was able to convince North Carolina authorities to detain Devin at the Manteo County Correctional Center to await extradition back to Connecticut.
Wait, so he gave his nephew's name and birth date, lying, and that actually worked for him to be able to bond himself out or get out of jail?
Well, I think they kind of went on to realize that's not who he was.
Well, no, I'm saying, but at the moment, he did get out of jail that way. Or they realized he wasn't that person.
Well, yeah, but I think he got charges for giving a fake information.
Okay.
But no, he went to jail. I'm pretty sure with fingerprints, they figured out who he was.
Well, I was about to say.
He's sitting in jail.
Okay.
He is eventually able to bond out of jail.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Keep up.
Oh, I'm keeping up.
When you're over there thinking about somebody calling you little boy or strangling you and you calling them Big Daddy or whatever. Focus, Dylan.
Come strangle me, Daddy.
It's not time for your kinks.
Daddy, chill.
When Derone was finally able to travel the 800 miles from Connecticut to North Carolina on February 19th of 2004, he was surprised to meet with this hefty but like baby-faced man. His initial thought was Devin seemed harmless. Which is very scary.
Which is he would use to his advantage to trick his victims.
Oh, yeah, he was really able to disarm people immediately because he just seemed like the sweet Southern guy.
But he's really a monster.
Devin was read his Miranda rights. He was arrested on 2 counts of violation of probation. On the return trip to New England, Devin would only discuss the scenery. That's a pretty field out there.
You see that tree back there? That's a nice tree.
You see that creek? It looks wet.
What murders? I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about that sign over there. I like it. It's bright.
He also talked about growing up in Virginia. However, Devin did not want to talk about the charges against him. Those assault charges, the 3rd-degree assault charges.
Well, no, have accountability.
Or the probation violations.
Oh, Lord, no, that's not my fault either, bud. I didn't do any of that. I just like scenery.
Around 3 hours into this lengthy road trip, Devin finally asked the detective why they had come all this way to pick him up. That's when Devin is confronted with a photo of the missing woman, Nilsa Arizmendi. Devin's eyes widened and the color drained from his face, according to Detective Derone.
Dude, Derone is a badass, dude. He was waiting for hours while this guy plays his little games. And he was waiting for him to even hint at a question like this. And he was ready. And you know what? It caught him off guard and he got the reaction. He knew right then he had the man he was looking for.
At that point, Devin made it clear he was not going to speak to law enforcement without an attorney. Once in Connecticut, Devin was detained on a $100,000 bond.
Oh, yeah. They're guilty.
Devin, however, would not remain silent much longer. He would demonstrate a bad habit of confiding in the wrong people, Dylan.
No, please tell me not the cellmate. Not the jailhouse cellmate.
Devin's doing the motherfucking cell block tango with his cellmate. Let's talk about this.
Dude, this kills me every time these cats will act all hard and like, I know how to talk to the cops and not talk to cops. And they'll go in there and they'll spend a night or two in
singing
lockup.
like a damn canary.
And it's like they're writing a novel. They will tell them every single detail of the crime. And they think this cat they just met ain't, for either one, going to use that information to improve their position, or 2, be disgusted about what they're telling them and tell cops anyway just so they catch this monster. Go ahead.
Plus, nobody wants to be cellmates with you when you're a fucking scumbag, right?
No, we know about scum here at the Mountain Murders podcast.
My dad calls me scum.
Oh, it rises to the top just like the cream. I'm just saying.
Funny you say that, Dylan, because my next line is, a former cellmate would later tell detectives that Devin had a nickname for the van, quote, the murder mobile.
Oh, yeah, and
it looks like a murder mobile, so I guess that's clever. Pretty obvious.
Well,
anyway.
I'm glad he told, I would call it the creeper. That's what I would call my creeper murder van.
Oddly enough, Devin's former friends had joked about the rusty van being a murder mobile back in 2002, a year before the murders took place.
Boom.
So even his friends are like, bro, your vehicle looks like a criminal's vehicle.
I worked with another guy who had a creeper van. And it totally looked like, we would joke about when new hires would come onto the machine, we would joke about don't park in that. We'd describe the van. They'd be like, oh yeah, I saw it when I came in. They'd be like, don't park next to it because the side door will slide open. He'll jerk you in there. And they'd be like, who? And I'd be like, that guy over there. And this was an older man, but he was a big, strong guy. Like,
did he know you guys were
naturally? Oh yeah,
joking around about it?
Oh yeah, because he would actually not long after
That's pretty funny.
we gave the new hire this speech, like, this guy will pull you in thing, and he'll like grab you and touch you, and you can't stop him. They'd look at him, he'd be over there like swinging a sledgehammer like a monster, and they'd start. And then once, if they were really believing us, like, you got to watch that guy. He does weird stuff. Just stay away from him. And so once we fill him full of that for a good day or two, then Jimmy would start. He would start coming around them and just kind of put his arm around them, talking about, what's your name? You know, I like the way you look and stuff.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, oh yeah, there's been times I had to pull the guy aside and say, "We're just messing with you, bro. He's not going. It's okay." Because we would go with the long play on the jokes.
These are fireable offenses, Dylan.
Yeah, well, you know what? We made it. It was fun.
Is this blue collar humor?
This is how you get through 12-hour swing shifts, bud. You find a lot.
I mean, it's pretty funny.
You know, you did the same thing in the Navy. It's called carrying on, messing with the new guy.
Look, my buddy and I had a fucking brown paper bag.
Okay.
Bag.
What was that for?
We did a photo shoot with Bag. My friend was going to take Bag to prom.
Oh, Bag. Oh, this is actually okay. So I was waiting for you to tell me. So you had a brown paper bag and it was just Bag.
It was like a big...
Yeah.
You have to... There's a whole process when you're on a ship of like eliminating the trash.
Oh, okay.
And you have to pack it into these brown paper bags.
It's a big deal.
And whatever. But they're huge bags. Like they're... I mean, I'm short, so they're like almost my height, right? I could get in the bag.
Oh my gosh.
And it would come up to like my, cover
so
my
it's a
boobs.
big bag.
It's a big ass brown paper bag.
Okay.
So we had this, I don't even remember the details, but somehow we ended up with this bag and it became this running joke. And my friend would say, I love Bag.
I love Bag.
And he would talk about taking Bag to prom.
Oh.
And like we did a photo shoot because I ran the photo studio and I have photos of him posing with Bag.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like, it became a thing. And
Isn't
like
it?
other people, it became like this big joke about the bag. So I get it. I mean, it was so, I don't even, like I said, I don't even remember all the details because it was so dumb.
I'm glad you shared that Bag story with us.
But, when you're working an 18-hour shift and you're out in the middle of the ocean and there's nothing else going on, the bag is pretty fucking funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's fun to mess with the new guy or the new girl
John Henry.
or the new person.
Swinging his sledgehammer.
Yeah. Oh, it was funny.
Getting a little friendly with folks.
God, he's a big, strong guy. I mean, he could hold you down and take it if he wanted to.
Bag gazing at me across the room. Looking like a sandwich might be in there.
Oh, a big sandwich.
Big sandwich. Maybe there's a lot of sandwiches.
I wonder if it was a signature series sandwich.
Okay, I'm going to get an I Love Bag shirt, but let's get back to this. So regardless of this information, the van was simply a crucial piece of evidence to police that required a detailed search. The van was eventually tracked down in Windsor, North Carolina at the home of Devin's friend. The van was seized on April 22nd, 2004. I was thinking about this. It's a day after my birthday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it certainly was.
I remember what I was doing around this time.
You said April 22nd, 2004.
Yep.
What were you doing? Can you tell us?
Enlisted in the Navy.
Oh, you was wanting to go get a bag.
I was. Items were removed from the van, carefully inventoried as photographs were taken. Mostly it had bins of clothing, some lawn tools, different work tools, business books, and pornography tapes.
Oh, nice.
They saw that the blue back seat had visible stains on it. There was also a stain on the seat back that tested positive for blood. One of those stains. Hairs and fibers were removed, as well as a rock that contained some red stains and had some hair-like fibers matted to it.
Okay, see, we were kidding and carrying on, but this is what you find in a real murder van. I mean, you find evidence like this.
Carpet samples were taken. Blood-like flakes were scraped from the carpet of the driver's side interior. A steak-type knife with red bloodstains along the cutting portion was found, just hanging out in the floorboard.
Damn, this is a treasure trove of evidence.
Latent prints were also lifted. However, a search did not produce items worn by Nilsa on the date she went missing. They did not find any women's clothing in the van. The pornography in the van suggested to detectives that he, meaning Devin, had a possible pornography addiction.
Right, so it's probably really hardcore, or there's a lot of it. Or, I mean, who just drives around with porn tapes in the van?
Well, Dylan, it didn't just come out and say this, but I was reading something in my research, and I can't even remember what it was at this point. My brain's a little frazzled. I did a lot of reading this week. That it almost sounded like there might have been some sort of amateur type of video.
Really?
Like it almost looked like a home movie or something.
Oh.
Because detectives took a frame, like a picture, and circulated it out, asking people if they knew the women in the video.
Oh, okay.
But nothing ever came of that.
So they were concerned enough with this particular tape. They thought maybe it was something they were maybe being forced to do or something, or
Possibly.
victims being
yeah, I mean, it wasn't
videotaped.
super clear, but that's
Right.
almost what, I mean, that's kind of what I got from it.
Okay.
Right? Devin remains in jail through the summer months, and officers are able to get blood samples from him while he's incarcerated. He continued to maintain his right to remain silent, though, refusing to speak to investigators. Indigent, but not yet formally declared by the court, formally declared by the court, he could not afford an attorney and would have to wait for an arrest to be made in the murder of Nilsa before being assigned a public defender.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, I guess.
I mean, kind of, but that's a long time to wait.
If you're being held, I think you should have
Not-
access to a lawyer. I mean, I'm just saying from a justice point, from a proper country point of view. But this guy don't deserve nothing, so fuck him. I'm glad he was up in there with no lawyer.
The only thing he would tell Detective Derone was, quote, "I don't even know the girl you showed me a picture of."
Oh, yeah, sure. That's why you, like, freaked out. Your eyes bugged out and the color drained from your face when you asked me what this was about, right, bud?
On June 2nd, 2004, Devin allegedly told another inmate the police couldn't get a conviction without a body. The evidence helped the investigation pick up speed. The Department of Corrections began recording phone calls between Devin and Dory. Angel Sanchez was given a photo lineup with Devin's picture, and he was able to point him out. A few weeks later, 3 samples were sent to the lab for testing. Forensic examiners often say when it comes to convicting a murderer, it is less about finding the body and more about finding the blood. And there was plenty of blood waiting to be found inside this murder mobile.
Well, it sounds like it.
Devin was released from jail on July 22nd, 2004, after serving time for the probation violations. Authorities could only hope that Devin would not flee before the test results came in. It wasn't until August 20th of 2004 that a forensic examiner issued her findings. Devin was excluded as the contributor to some of the biological materials. However, Nilsa was not excluded. It was not looking good for Devin. Finally, DNA results were back in September, which proved that Valeria Arizmendi was the mother of the source of DNA found on the seats and carpet inside the van. A second search of the van was conducted with more materials gathered. When the carpet was totally ripped up, there was a large reddish stain on some plywood underneath, like that were basically making up the floorboards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this huge red stain. And guess what? There was some hair attached, and the hair had roots,
Uh-oh.
suggesting it had been forcefully removed from someone's head.
And it will be a source of DNA.
Yet the plywood, with the blood and the DNA, did not belong to Devin or Nilsa.
So it's
It's another
else's?
possible victim.
My gosh.
The van was purchased from a former girlfriend's parents. So Devin had bought this van from one of his ex-girlfriend's parents. So they were contacted along with other family members who had operated the van. They reported no one had ever bled excessively inside the vehicle.
Hey, how much you want for that murder van you got out there in the yard?
Dory was finally hauled in for questioning in November of 2004. She confirmed that Devin was the exclusive driver of the van, and he had the 2 sets of keys. She didn't even have keys.
Dory's a bit more cooperative now,
Just
isn't she?
registered. It's just in her name.
Funny how she's kind of like, yeah, maybe I better tell him what I know because this stuff's getting serious.
By early May of 2005, with DNA evidence in hand, law enforcement was close to arresting Devin for the murder of Nilsa Arizmendi, despite having no body. Lastly, an affidavit was obtained by Devin's friend in Virginia, who stated he had helped him clean the van out around Thanksgiving of 2003, and they had thrown out some badly stained cushions.
Wow.
Devin had rolled them up, left them at the curb for trash pickup. This friend also wrote that the van had a bad odor inside of it.
God, man. This fucking van is so disgusting and scary on top of being disgusting.
It's just a big old stank mobile.
No, I mean, seriously, I think of these victims being damn hogtied and
Tortured in this fucking gross ass van
by this sick, monstrous man
that smells like the bog of eternal stench.
And the fact that he seems cherubish and all happy-go-lucky, baby-faced, is almost makes it scarier than if he was some evil-looking guy. Honestly,
he's got a killer mullet.
Well, I mean, I'm not normally I would applaud
no
that.
Pun intended. But I'm just saying it's the early to mid 2000s and he's still got a mullet.
I would normally applaud that Kentucky waterfall.
It's not an ironic mullet.
But, he thinks it. Oh, well. Anyway, fuck his mullet. This guy don't get no mullet props.
Devin was promptly arrested and charged with murder. It was on May 17th of 2005 that Devin appeared in court, finally assigned an attorney, Dylan. Around this time, Devin was working in North Carolina, but staying with a friend in Virginia. His chief complaint about his buddy's rural North Carolina home is that it was too far away from the action. There was no way to pick up ladies. It's good to know that's what he's thinking about when there's a murder investigation.
Yeah.
And he's the prime suspect.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go get people and kill them. It sucks, man. It's small town living.
He would later explain that that's why he preferred staying with his other friend in Hampton, Virginia, where he was able to sometimes pick women up at country bars.
What a doober.
He's like boot scooting, boogieing his way over there. He's like, girl, you want to watch me grapevine? Come get in my murder van.
Hey, you smell that car out there? That's mine.
I know, right?
The freaking hell. Hey, did you see that car? You see that van? Yeah. What do you think about it? Well, it looks like a damn creeper van. Yeah, I know it's mine. You won't smell it? Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
You won't smell my... Hey, girl, you won't smell my van?
You want to brush my mullet in the van?
Oh, God. I bet he smelled, too.
Well, he wasn't wearing any high karate aftershave.
Oh, my God.
Okay. When law enforcement approached the house to arrest Devin, he was drinking beer and shooting pool with his friend. Devin took off on foot, but was found hiding in a neighbor's bushes nearby.
They literally watched him run into the bushes and they went and looked for him there.
Yeah.
And he thought he got away.
Devin's bond was set at $2.5 million.
Damn.
Devin told other inmates, quote, I need to get a speedy trial because they got nothing on me. Nothing. Just some drugged up pimp saying I was the last one he saw with her.
A drugged up pimp. I guess he doesn't know about the 275 pieces of evidence they've recovered from this van.
I'm not sure Devin understands how science works.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure he doesn't.
He learned a little bit from forensic files. But he's still not up to snuff on it, Dylan.
Thanks for bringing that up. This fool was a fan of watching forensic files to the point where it worries him about how it's getting more and more.
But it never dawns on him
that they're using forensics to gather evidence against him.
Yeah.
Gosh, I would love for the narrator of the old school one to be talking about this case, and just because he can be condescending, that narrator, a little bit. And which he was awesome. I don't even know what his name was, but you know the voice. I can hear it in my sleep. I would love for him to be covering this episode of Forensic Files. And little did the perpetrator know.
Look, Bill may not be cooking with gas. Is all I'm saying.
All right. That's right. Yeah, it's over for you, Devin. They gonna get you.
One inmate knew Detective DeRone, having worked as a criminal informant for him. He had previously cooperated and knew how to sing like a canary. The inmate returned to his cell after hearing some of Devin's stories and began documenting entries into like a little notebook regarding conversations with Devin Howell. On an entry dated May 29th, he wrote that Devin said the victim's nose, quote, bled all over the place after he beat her. He said, quote, I did it, but they can't prove it.
Oh, my God. This is he's got like a informant diary.
On May 30th, the inmate told his girlfriend to call the Wethersfield police while he held on the line so that he could speak to Detective DeRone. He told the investigator everything. Jerome told him to lay off, like pressing Devin, and he would be in touch with the guy.
Yeah, Daron's like, chill out now. Let's not get him suspicious of what's happening. But I bet Daron is like, yes, even more evidence against this fool.
Later, Daron told the inmate to send the notes to the police department in a letter marked legal stuff so that the prison couldn't open it and go through it.
Damn,
'Cause
Daron.
it's like confidential legal business.
So basically, Daron he almost created his own chain of custody by telling him that he wanted the words and the letters straight from that guy, then form it to him without anyone else looking at it or tampering with it.
Yep.
Wow, Daron's a beast.
More than a year after Devin had been arrested for murder, the trial was pending, but no date had been set. During a holding, like for the hearing, so he's been moved to a different jail, a separate inmate at this new jail told him that his friend, this new friend he had, was a snitch. So when Devin's talking about, hey, my buddy back at blah, 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 the guy's like, bro, that dude's a snitch. Yeah. And so Devin is now telling others that he's planning to kill the snitch because this guy knows too much now.
He didn't even learn his lesson the first time.
Again,
So now
I'm not sure he's cooking with gas. But
So now he's going to tell other people about another crime he's going to commit because he shouldn't have told that guy about the other crime that he done committed. And he has no thoughts in his head that they might tell about the new crime that he's going to commit because he told the other guy about the other crime that he done committed. And I mean, come on, bro.
I know.
I'm flabbergasted right now.
Your face is priceless at the moment.
I mean,
by the way.
damn. I'm sorry. That might have been hard to follow, but I think everybody knows exactly what I meant.
Oh, we know.
Oh, my gosh. Devin.
A search warrant was issued, and inside Devin's cell, they found materials suggesting he was planning to kill, quote, the snitch. There were photographs of the inmate, along with addresses of this guy's family and other personal information. And guess who provided this information to Devin? His attorney.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I hope he got in trouble for that.
It was like a whole separate thing.
Oh, but look. So, and they found this in a notebook titled Information Needed to Kill the Snitch that I shouldn't have told about killing that girl.
If I killed the snitch, but I didn't, this is how I would do it.
And these are the things I would need to procure to make said thing that I'm not going to do.
He had a little snitch list, a little murder list for the snitch.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only thing he's worried about is the fact that he can't.
1, procure a toothbrush. 2, grind it down. 3, make a shank. Yeah.
4, put it in the snitch.
Yes. Stupid. He's dumb. It was on January 24th of 2007 that the murder trial began. So here we are nearly 4 years later.
That's crazy.
8 witnesses were called to testify over the course of 5 days, including Angel Sanchez. He testified the couch cushions in Devin's van were different 3 weeks prior to Nilsa's disappearance, and that according to photographs that were taken by police, they had been changed after she went missing.
Right. Yet again, a very pointed, accurate, important piece of information come from the former drug dealer, Mr. Angel.
The defense tried pointing the finger at Sanchez, of course. The forensic evidence was shown to the jury. After hearing the testimony of Devin's best friend, who'd helped him clean the van, the defense realized that it was time to urge Devin Howell to accept a plea deal for manslaughter.
You think so?
Time was running out. Finally, Devin agreed to take the plea as long as it was under the Alford doctrine.
Wait, well, hold on a second. Hold on a damn second. You're telling me they're going to offer this man manslaughter?
It was on the table in the beginning.
And this fool is talking about he'll take that, but only if he can do an Alford plea.
Yeah.
Which is basically saying that there is evidence to prove you did this crime, but you're still stating your fucking innocence.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try to contain myself.
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, buckle yourself in that stanky, smelly van. We got a little trip to take here, bud.
Sticky, too.
In August of 2007, a man was looking for a place to hunt behind a strip mall in New Britain, Connecticut. He found what appeared to be a human skull and immediately contacted police. Within 2 weeks, more than 50 bones were found belonging to 3 different unidentified women.
Oh my gosh, his dumping ground this guy stumbled upon.
Authorities speculated the other bones had been taken by animals or that the weather had deteriorated portions of the remains. Dental records and DNA were culled from the bones and entered into missing persons databases. Months passed and there were no matches. 2 years later, the skulls of Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2 were transported to the FBI lab in Quantico for analysis. A forensic bust was developed. They did like a recreation.
Yeah.
And in 2009, the brother of a 48-year-old missing woman named Diane Cusack came forward to say he thought this bust looked a lot like his sister.
Okay. Wow.
She was last seen in late summer of 2003. In December of 2010, Cusack was identified as one of the 3 victims based on DNA comparisons with family members. She was actually Jane Doe number 2. Jane Doe number 1 would take longer to identify. Joyvaline Martinez disappeared from her mother's home in East Hartford on October 10th of 2003. In the weeks that followed, relatives became concerned, especially when the 24-year-old missed her mother's birthday on Halloween. A missing persons report was filed in March of 2004. It was in 2006 or 2007 that her mother submitted DNA for analysis. Although Martinez's bones were among the remains found in August of 2007, the lab wasn't provided with her mother's DNA sample until 2008. Then, it was May of 2013 that Martinez was finally identified.
Damn, it's so long.
So, like 5-6 years later.
But at least she got identified, yeah.
At the time, the state crime lab in Connecticut was in disarray. It took over a year for the mother's DNA to be entered into CODIS, and then there were no available matches. Finally, in January of 2013, lab officials conducted an internal review of the CODIS database and discovered a misconfiguration of the search algorithm. The CODIS had not been compared to the unidentified human remains database where Martinez's DNA results had been stored. She was officially identified as Jane Doe number 1. A forensic dentist was able to confirm the match through skeletal remains located behind the strip mall at 593 Hartford Road. The unknown bloodstain in Devin's van belonged to Martinez. Some of the hair also belonged to her.
Damn, so they found another victim of his. That's crazy.
Like Cusack, Martinez battled substance issues and was known to frequent certain streets in New Britain. Beyond that, the 2 victims were considered to be different. Cusack was an older woman. She was 48. And Martinez was young, and she was considered to be beautiful by conventional beauty standards. She had ran track in high school and was popular among peers. The remains of the 3rd Jane Doe would take longer to identify. It was on September 26 of 2014 that police announced those remains belonged to Mary Jane Minard. 40-year-old Minard had a lengthy history of drug addiction and was known to hang around the same areas as these other women.
So from his murder van, they have identified 3 victims.
Well, yeah.
Basically.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've lost track at this point.
No, I think that's right. I mean, I think that's what they're comparing these remains to.
No, I think you're right. So an arrest warrant was issued on September 15th of 2015, charging Devin Howell with these murders. A witness had seen Minard last in the passenger seat of a blue van on a street corner in New Britain. The van was dirty and beat up, with an eerily similar description matching Devin's van. Minard introduced the witness to her, quote, friend, a heavy-set white man with a blondish mullet, and she introduced him as Bill.
But that's obviously Devin, right?
Well, yeah, but he's telling this woman his name is Bill.
Right. Yeah.
She recognized Bill a few months later when he was arrested for Nilsa's murder, and a photograph of him circulated, like, on the TV. A former cellmate would also tell police that Devin had spoken of Minard's death, saying she was the 5th woman he had murdered. He told the cellmate she was a sex worker, and he had raped her 6 to 7 times with a shock absorber that he kept in the van.
Oh, my God.
Then he delivered the body to, quote, the garden, his garden behind the strip mall. According to others, Devin described the woods behind the mall as the garden or his garden.
Yeah.
According to the cellmate, Devin was concerned the shock absorber might have Minard's DNA on it. If what the cellmate said was true, then there was no telling the horror and torture each victim experienced in the face of Devin's brutal rapes and eventual strangulations. In April of 2015, police searched the 15 acres of land owned by the Department of Transportation behind the strip mall. A cadaver sniffing dog was brought in, and the FBI assisted. And guess what, Dylan? They found the remains of 4 more victims. So you're right. It was 3. I'm sorry. I kept thinking.
No, you're
I
fine.
Knew there was a number 4 in there.
No, this has been a lot of information in this very well researched and written story you have.
One of the victims was 29-year-old Melanie Ruth Camellini, who was reported missing in January of 2003. She was last seen in Waterbury, Connecticut. Devin would later confess she was the first woman he killed. Devin will admit the women working the streets were easy prey. The heroin epidemic had hit Connecticut hard, like many places. Devin's second victim was 26-year-old Waterbury resident Marilyn Gonzalez, who was the mother of 2. She had gone missing on May 15th of 2003. According to the cellmate, Devin had boasted about smashing her in the face with a hammer because she wouldn't die and that her jaw was broken. He then kept her inside the van for 2 weeks because it was too cold to bury her.
God, my God.
He bragged that he had cut off the woman's fingertips and dismantled her jaw from the body, or from the skull.
His willingness to tell other people these things is pretty weird. It's pretty scary on top of all the rest of it.
I mean, come on, Devin. You should just get a podcast. Right? Just tell everybody.
It'd be the real serial podcast.
Dumbass.
Serial killer podcast.
I mean, might as well
What?
announce it to the world, bud.
Yeah, I just hope that the investigators don't hear this.
What the dumbass.
One male was found among the bodies behind the strip mall. 44-year-old Danny Lee Wisnett may have engaged in sex work, but was not a known addict. Wisnett was reported in the news